Now, we all know rugby union is a pretty tough game. Wales' fitness worries ahead of the Australia match on Saturday have already started. And tonight, the Welsh Rugby Union chairman, Gareth Davies, has told Wales Live the rise in injuries and concussions could seriously threaten the reputation of the sport. He says limiting replacements in professional matches may indeed help the sport. So has rugby union become too risky? The Wales and British and Irish Lions star Jamie Roberts has been investigating for Wales Live.
I think there is a rugby injury problem.
From a numbers perspective, it's got high injury rates. Based on the sports that are popular in the UK, it's one of the worst.
We've got health and safety laws for a reason. People don't die at work, people don't get injured, and we have to treat rugby in the same way.
I think there are nastier collisions and probably nastier injuries. The game has changed totally.
I was told by the doctor, that's it, you cannot play anymore, and it was a relief.
Rugby is, of course, a contact sport, and for us players, it's certainly a case of when, not if, that we'll get injured. This season in particular, there's been a real concern about the number of players getting injured, which begs the question, is there an injury crisis in our sport?
Unfortunately, it's part of this tough game that we've all played. Injuries is a big part of it.
22 years on from the arrival of professionalism, and I think we're probably paying the price, really. It's not the old-fashioned tackle around the legs anymore. It's, get the upper body, and that's why I think heads are always colliding, because, strong people are trying to prevent strong people.
Well, rugby's a contact sport, always has been, but what's happened since professionalism is that it's not become a contact sport, it's now a collision sport, and the collisions are getting more violent, players are bigger and stronger, and the number of collisions is growing exponentially as the game becomes faster. We're now seeing the second or even third generation of professionalism, where children, almost 13, 14 years old now, are in the gym, getting bigger, getting stronger. We didn't do that when I was playing, and now they're becoming big men.
Stories have emerged this season of growing injury lists. The Dragons missing 29 players for one match, and in the English Premiership, where I play, more than 80 players were injured in the first 4 weeks of the season. Dr. Izzy from Cardiff Metropolitan University is studying injuries in Welsh professional rugby and is funded by the Welsh Rugby Union and World Rugby. Her research shows a staggering 172% increase in the number of concussions in the 4 seasons up to 2016, although overall injury numbers remain broadly static.
Concussion has risen over the past few years. Now, that might be because of the head injury assessment allows people more time to actually diagnose a concussion. So what we're now seeing is actually a true reflection of the concussion rates. So they're now almost double, essentially, what they used to be.
And the risk of getting injured in an international match is twice as high as a professional club or regional game.
In rugby, when you start a game, you and 3 others are likely to get an injury by the end of the game in an international match. On average, we'd expect around 4 match injuries per autumn international match that we're about to see.
Players, coming in from the club side to the international side, inevitably the player has some degree of injury. And I know the way the Welsh Rugby Union manages that is the player will be signed in as either red, amber or green. And if you're green, you're fine. And there are very few green players.
And some injuries can affect a player's life long after they've hung up their boots. My old Wales centre partner, Tom Shanklin, had to retire in 2011 because of injury. He's been told he'll need a knee replacement by the time he's 40.
Towards the end of my career, I don't really have fond memories of rugby because I was playing with a bad knee for so long. There'd be a constant dull ache in my right knee, so I was having to have it drained on a Wednesday. So they would put a needle in my knee, drain all the blood out, and then play on a Friday or a Saturday. I tore more cartilage then in my last game in 2011, and I was told by the doctor, that's it, you cannot play anymore, and it was a relief to me.
At some points throughout the year, my body feels like it could definitely do with a break. And recently, England star Billy Vunipola claimed that he would take a pay cut to play fewer games in a season. In Wales, top players are limited to 32 matches per season.
Well, it's about 3 a month or so, and I think that's reasonable. People have got to play rugby. If you play any less than that, I think you probably lose form and lose momentum. No, I think you've got to change the risk rather than change the exposure.
The problem is there are so many moving parts here. World Rugby, they've already agreed a calendar to 2032. So we're looking at sort of 15 years on. We know the number of internationals that are going to be played throughout the year. Television wants its penny's worth. Players want to get paid. Clubs, investors in clubs, they want their businesses to work. The unions need the money in order to fund the whole game. So there's so many moving parts.
There's always going to be risk of injury, but what's too high is the ultimate question, really. I think they're high. I think that we need to do something.
So what can be done to make the game safer?
There are lots of small things you can do, and even you go as radical as saying you can have a weight limit on the team.
One area where I think we could look at is the role of substitutions, where if you expect a player to play for 80 minutes, then they're going to have to change their physicality and their makeup. They're not going to be huge and muscular and strong if they're going to play high-intensity rugby for 80 minutes.
Players should be able to go out and play intensely. It's just that they should be able to play like that, but then be fairly certain that you're going to walk off the field at the end and play again next week.
The Lucky 23 will do battle against Australia here at the Principality Stadium on Saturday at the beginning of one of the most intense periods in the rugby calendar. As players, you understand the risks of getting injured in Test rugby are pretty high, but do you know what? You wouldn't change it for the world.